All right, welcome back to the Homestand Show. Let's continue our conversation about the Leafs tonight, the NHL playoffs. Justin Pooni and Bobby Conway of BET99 joining us. I guess the big question I probably should start off with: who is going to score 4 goals tonight? We saw Draisaitl do it last night. We saw Pavelski do it the night before.
There's a couple players on the ice you could see it happening with.
This seems to be a trendy bet right now, at least on social. Everyone's looking for it, right?
4 is tough.
It can't happen
4
3
is tough,
straight
dude.
days, though. It's just,
Yeah, no. Hat trick.
Draisaitl expected.
nobody expects. Okay, I don't think you're going to end a game expecting somebody's going to score 4 goals. Like,
No, but if you were to do a list of who you think will score
Yeah,
4
yeah,
goals
he
in
would
the
be
playoffs,
near the
he'd be in
top.
the
Yeah,
top
okay,
3,
let's make
4,
that
5.
list.
Yeah.
Okay, currently players in the playoffs who you would expect to score 4 goals.
McDavid,
McDavid.
So McDavid, Draisaitl.
Matthews,
Really? I guess, right? I mean, 60 goal guy.
Kachuk.
See, we're just talking about this off
You think
air
he's-
too.
Mm-hmm.
I love Matthew Kachuk,
Yeah.
by the way. I think you put him on any team, at least a serious contender that can win. I'm not saying the Panthers are a contender. I'm just saying. But not so much of a goal scorer, more of a facilitator than he is
Yeah, 100-point
a
guy.
pure goal scorer. Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
He's 40 goals scored back-to-back years.
yeah.
I mean, it's nothing to sneeze at. And I think, well, first of all, you kind of gave the Panthers some bulletin board material right there by saying they're kind of slowing the Stanley Cup.
That needs to be a segment.
Paul Maurice
Bulletin-
is going to see this pregame.
I gave
and
you gave the Tampa Bay Lightning bulletin board material saying that I'm going to beat up Pat Maroon and Corey Perry.
Would you fight
And what
Matthew Kachuk?
No, man, I love that.
Could you
guy.
imagine you walked into the Panthers dressing room and your mug's on the board?
In Maroon's locker? Is a picture of me. Okay, so I'm on Bet99 right now. Austin Matthews has scored 3+ goals, by the way, plus 1,400. Matthew Kachuk plus 2,900.
Wow.
To score 3+. I mean, that's a stretch.
Mhm.
But okay, let's get to the game.
Yeah.
I didn't really get your thoughts on game 1 yet, but overall, what did you take away from the Leafs?
Well, I thought the Leafs had a pretty good game. They definitely, I don't want to say outplayed Florida, but it was a competitive game. It was a different game than we saw against Tampa Bay, a little bit more wide open. And I just think that Bobrovsky outplayed Samsonov. They capitalized on their chances over the Leafs, and the score was the score. I don't think that you could take too much away from a negative standpoint for either team. Obviously, you get a win if you're Florida. You're happy regardless, but yeah, some irresponsible play like that play by Brody on the Verhage goal was I don't know
Brutal.
what he was thinking. It doesn't make much sense to me, but I think you get caught up in that. Like if you want to go trade blow for blow, chance for chance with Florida, when you're the better team, you don't always have to do that. Even though you feel like let's go take it to them, let's go, we can play any hockey they want. You don't need to do that, right? You can just shut that down and take your opportunities because Florida will give you opportunities. The Leafs don't have to do that.
We saw that in the first period with the power play opportunities as well. The Leafs power play has to take advantage of it. Look,
Yes.
we talked about it last week, just how poor the Panthers penalty kill was in round 1. But if you start giving them confidence and they start building on that, like that's something that can really, change a series, right? Special teams will be a big advantage of it. And if the Leafs get power play opportunities, they have to take advantage of that tonight if they want to get back into this game. And as you mentioned, I think Samsonov will bounce back. We saw that in round 1 after the stinker he had in game 1 against Tampa. He bounced right back. And I think we'll see that as well. But again, the mental errors, and I think the biggest thing with the Leafs is just play their game. They're trying to alter their game to play like the Panthers. I want to see the Leafs play Maple Leafs hockey.
Okay, so
right?
what is that?
I think that's, again, using their speed, their skill to their advantage, right? Again, I don't really know if it's getting into, again, the scrums are going to happen, but also maybe try to play it slick, goat the Panthers into getting, some of the extra man penalty and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like the Leafs are trying to prove that they are tough rather than, and they're overcompensating for it. You know
Well,
what
I
I'm
don't think they did that in the Tampa Bay series.
They didn't.
They
right?
were on the ropes for most of that. So I think now it's probably best for them to be the aggressor in this situation. I just don't know if they know how to do that in the playoffs. They've done it in the regular season a lot, but maybe not so much in the playoffs. So I don't know, Bob, maybe you can touch on this. What do you think the biggest adjustment Keith needs to make for game 2?
I think more responsible defensive hockey. I think if I could add another betting analogy, small pot poker. If you're the better poker player, you don't need to go all in every hand because you can outsmart the other player at that hand for hand. Well, this is the same thing every shift. You don't have to be going up there, going up and down like it's 3-on-3 hockey. I think you don't need to be pinching as much. You don't need to be irresponsible because you have, I think, a better defensive core, and although not in game 1, a better goaltender. You don't. And Florida can be a very porous team on the defensive side of the puck. So I think you need to not give them so many grade A chances and just take your chances when you get them.
I also think just the whole perception of the Panthers. Yes, the Leafs are a better team, but this team won the President's Trophy last year, right? It's not a they're not going up against just any.
No, absolutely.
It's not just any like wild card team, right? This is a team that has a whole lot of talent, and they added Matthew Tkachuk, right? I think the Panthers, they had a lot of injuries during the regular season. Sergei Bobrovsky was, hasn't really been shaky, right? But if they put it together, this is not an easy out. And I think the Maple Leafs really, really need to, again, we talked about that mental and that kind of emotional drop in game one. Well, you got to pick it right back up, because tonight, if you go down 0-2, that's your season could be over just before you thought your run was getting started, right?
You're starting to enter must-win territory, right? If you go down 2 to Florida, I know they've stolen games in Florida against Tampa Bay, but you don't want to be in this position, specifically in round 2.
Would you say this game is a must-win for them? Because I think it is. I think you can't go down 0-2.
I mean, you have to, right? Yeah. I mean, the Leafs have enough talent that you would believe that they can come back from being 0-2. But, I mean, they've never been in this position before in a round 2 if they go down 2 games. I just can't imagine that they don't show up tonight at Scotiabank Arena.
I think, like I said, the last game was competitive enough that I would be surprised if they don't head back to Lauderdale tied 1-1. They're down 0-2. They're in a terrible position. But having said that, I think it's not a position that's insurmountable, because you are the better team in every game. And when you're the better team in every game, you always have that chance to win. And if you individualize each game, then you should be able to figure out a way to win 4 out of the next 5 games?
Yeah.
So like that, but that's not easy.
No.
Let's but we saw New Jersey do it against the Rangers, and I did not think that was going to happen. They went down 0-2 at home, and then they went and ended up winning that series in 7.
On the flip side, though, Tampa was pretty much the better team the entire series against the
Absolutely.
Leafs, and they were out in 6 games, right?
Yeah.
So in playoff hockey, what we've seen so far is even if you're not playing your best game, you could still win games. And the Leafs haven't played a full 60 minutes yet of their best game, their A game. And maybe it'll never happen in this playoff run, right? Maybe they'll just keep on finding ways to win, which is another sign of a very good team, a championship caliber team. But you really want to see this team kind of put it all together and see, okay, this is what we can be. And we just haven't seen it yet in these playoffs.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the focus is obviously on, you guys are hearing this too, Matthew Tkachuk. How will the Leafs stop Matthew Tkachuk? That's just one player on the team. They obviously have a lot more players. They have a very good goaltender in Bobrovsky, streaky goalie, still a 2 Vezina guy who's streaky enough that he's figuring it out right now. So if he can keep this streak going for this series, there's a potential that he can steal it for the Florida Panthers. You have Sam Bennett, Reinhart, Brandon Montour, Radko Gudas. I mean, you can say what you want about some of these players, but together as a package,
Carter Verhaeghe.
They can keep up with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that's the worrying thing too, Justin, is what you mentioned, is that they haven't played better than the other team more often times than not, and we haven't seen that. And throughout the playoffs, you're not going to go anywhere if that's the case.
No, it's just like if you think about how this team, and I'm talking about the Panthers, played coming into the playoffs, I think, and then to get over the hump against Boston, making that rally. I think they're playing with house money, and that is a dangerous team to play against when you're playing in the playoffs, because they're playing a lot freer than the Leafs are. The Leafs should be a lot freer than they were in, say, round 1, just because of course, the narrative and the history of what they've done. But yeah, I mean, Florida's a dangerous team. You mentioned it too. This is a former President's Trophy winning team. They have Bobrovsky. You don't make $10 million for nothing, although he hasn't looked like a $10 million goal. But he did get that contract for a reason. He's capable.
And the other thing is this: like when you look at the Leafs and you look at the Panthers, right? I'm looking at the stats from right now from the Florida Panthers. Brandon Montour, 6 goals from the back end.
I know,
right? And the other thing is this: the Panthers have been playing playoff hockey for the last 2 months, pretty much, right? They were, had to fight and claw and scratch their way into the playoffs. Exactly. Then they were down 3-1 to the Bruins, had to, stave off elimination 3 straight times, and now the Leafs. We were talking about load management for the last month of the season, right, with the Maple Leafs.
I thought Keefe did a good job with that.
Again, and that it showed to be good in the round 1. But now, are we starting to see that maybe a team that was playing hot at the right time and on a roll and playing again? It's too early to say, but I'm saying that could creep in and be a thing as the series progresses.
I think that load management thing had a lot more to do with keeping the guys healthy. And they're pretty much 100% healthy. I mean, outside of we know about, Matt Murray and even Ryan O'Reilly with the broken finger still has a splint. Last game didn't look great, lost a lot of draws, uncharacteristic of him. But tonight on Bet99, the Maple Leafs are -190 on the money line. Panthers +160. Correctly handicapped?
Not really.
No? What do you
think
think?
that's too much value on the Panthers. I wouldn't take that.
A lot of money will always come in on the Leafs, right?
Yes, it's a public team, Canadian book. So we're gonna, take a lot more money on a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs, but there's a lot of value there in the Panthers at that plus 160.
Yeah, -1.5 for these plus 115 if you like that. The over 6.5 -140. Okay, let's talk about the Kraken and the Stars. The Seattle Kraken. We were talking about them yesterday. Just a team you would not even believe that would get out of the first round. I mean, I like their style of play. I think it's built for playoff hockey. And you look at some of their numbers, like in the regular season, the best 5-on-5 hockey team.
Yeah.
They go over to Dallas and they steal a game. Are you a believer in the Seattle Kraken?
I am. I don't want to be. Like, I mean, I didn't think they would be there, but yeah, I mean, look, they are a team that's built with a lot of solid second and third line guys, because that's naturally how it happens through a new franchise, and they've had great goaltending. So they beat this defending Stanley Cup champions. They managed to take down Dallas in the first game. You got to be a believer now.
Right. Okay, so let's get to some bets with Bobby Conway. All right, Bobby, running short on time.
Yeah.
What do you got for us today?
I like both teams tonight to square up the series, so I got a little favorite parlay between the Leafs and the Stars. And also, I believe we talked about the Lakers the last time. They won outright. I'm going to take the points once again. Since the trade deadline, they've been much, much better. They've beat the Warriors 4 times now, 3 times in the regular season, 1 time in the playoffs. I'm going with the +6.
Yeah, that's a big number.
It's a big number.
+6 for the Lakers. I think the Warriors will win, but what I saw defensively from the Lakers in Game 1, it's going to be a close series.